Niners, baby! Lose. For the first time, let's talk about it. So the first thing I want to talk about is that Deshaun Gibson helmet-to-helmet hit. Let's show it right here on the screen, because this right here is not a penalty. In this world or the next, that is not a helmet-to-helmet at all. Shoulder-to-helmet, sure. I don't know what the ref was seeing. But that extended the drive, and the Browns ended up going down the field and kicking a game-winning field goal. Yeah. Now, obviously, we ended up getting the ball back, and then we drove that all the way down the field, and then Jake Moody missed the actual game-winning field goal. Wide right. Laces out, Dan. That was the one drive at the end of the game. Brock Purdy looked alive, and our offense was not backed up and hopeless. So I appreciated that. It's like I needed to see that. I think the world needed to see that, because nothing was going right for our offense all day. Brock only had 55 yards passing going into the fourth quarter. CMC was out. Penalties were just galore on both sides, on both teams. The refs lost control of this game and called a really bad game. They really did. But our offense wasn't clicking, and our defense was keeping us in the game. PJ Walker was struggling to find open receivers, thank God, because he had some. We were really missing Dre Greenlaw today. He got announced as out before the game, and I'm like, oh no. Now, Flanagan, Foles, and whoever else they had in there did just fine. But I truly believe that a lot of the first downs that the Browns got on the ground, because the Browns gained a bunch of first downs today and converted third downs. I don't think that some of them would have happened if Dre Greenlaw was back there with Fred Warner. Warner had a good game too himself, honestly. He had a pick and was, playing with his hair on fire like he always does. But if we have him and Dre in there, I don't think that this game would have been as close as it was, because we would have got some key third down stops, because that's what Dre Greenlaw does. He flies sideline to sideline with Fred, and it's just a different ball game at that point. The big story of this game to me was field position. Field position played the biggest role in this game, and I don't think people take that into account too much for how wins and losses happen, but we lost the field position battle, period. And the entire third quarter, when we got the ball, we were backed up inside of our own 20, sometimes inside of our own 15 or 10. And when we would get yards, we would get a penalty, so we were shooting ourselves in the foot, and we would get backed up even more. So there was not even a chance to go forward and to really take shots or anything like that, because you're backed up. The crowd was so loud, and you just have to get a few yards and maybe break one on the ground, maybe get to like 3rd and 7. But we were going at like rates of like 3rd and 15 and 3rd and 20, 3rd and 25 the entire third quarter, and some of the second and into the fourth. It was starting to happen too, and I'm like, we're never going to get down the field and actually score if we can't get out of the shadow of our own goalposts. Like, we can't do that. So that was a big thing today. That was a big thing today. And sometimes when you're in the midst of a football game, that's something that happens, and it's super frustrating. And it's something that takes the life out of you. It takes the life out of your offense when you can't move the ball and you're moving back, for whatever reason. There's a couple times we got a big play downfield, and then all of a sudden it's coming back for a holding. And I'm like, come on. And I know the Browns would feel me on this, because there was times where we're actually driving down the field and it looks like they stopped us, and then the refs threw a flag and it would call like pass interference or something random on them too. And it kind of looks us. Like I said, the refs lost control of this game, and it was just weird because the players have to adapt. They really have to adapt. Now we're playing a team with a third string QB essentially, and their starting running back's been out for a while, so they've had time to adjust. Jerome Ford is feasible. Kareem Hunt is getting his wheels back under him. It's getting there. They were also without Joe Bitonio, their Pro Bowl left guard. So they're shorthanded, and we're going into it a hostile environment, playing one of the best defenses in the entire league, and we had to be at our best because we're on the road, because the weather was not favorable for a vast portion of that game. Especially the first half and into the third quarter. It was raining and the wind was blowing, and so the conditions weren't on our side. The refs weren't on anybody's side, but the refs weren't on our side. And then Debo got hurt in the first quarter. First drive, Trent Williams got hurt in the first quarter. He came back, but he wasn't the same. And we're already without Greenlaw. And then CMC got hurt. And I'm like, oh my gosh, can we do anything? Right? Like, it just felt like so frustrating. It would be one thing to know going into the game in preparation, you're not going to have these guys. In the midst of the game, when you lose leaders like that, that's so demoralizing. So that was quite the thing to attempt to overcome today, losing key leaders on your team. Hate that. Hate that with my whole heart. But it is what it is. We still had a chance to win the game at the end, and Jake Moody missed it. It truly, Brock Purdy played the worst game of his career. I knew a stinker like that was in the midst, like somewhere, you just don't know when it's going to show up. But you know what? I'd rather it show up on the road, in the rain, in the wind, against a fierce Cleveland defense than, against a trash defense like Minnesota that we're about to be playing on Monday night. Like shots fired. But for real, I would rather play a team that is supposed to be good at defense and them actually show up on defense and play good defense than underachieve against a bad defense. Like, honestly. So I'm not even sad about this. There was a lot of chess being played here today, and we lost that game. We really did. But like I said in the beginning of this, I am so encouraged by Brock Purdy still, despite the bad game, despite him throwing behind receivers a few times for sure. He threw a bad interception. He threw it behind him. In the first quarter, he stood up into the pocket, stepped into the pressure, threw a strike 40 yards down the field to Brandon Ayuk, and Ayuk dropped it. Could have and maybe should have been a touchdown. Bare minimum, a 45, 50-yard gain. Ayuk dropped it. I think it was the late second quarter. Purdy steps up into the pocket, rolls out to the right a little bit, and hits Ayuk in the hands, dropped it again. Ayuk had 2 big drops today. Is what it is. But maybe if he catches those, one of them was most likely going to be a touchdown, and the other one would have been a drive extender, and God only knows what's going to happen then. But that's also momentum, that's also confidence, and that's some rapport building. But Ayuk dropped those passes. So what could have been? Coulda, shoulda, woulda, right? Ayuk has to be better, especially when Debo's down and out. Like, you got to be better. Especially when CMC's down and out, you got to be better. Especially when Trent Williams is hobbling but still in there, got to be better. Bosa showed up today, that's for sure. Javon Hargrave was going all over the field, that's for sure. Fred Warner got a pick. He's doing everything he normally does, that's for sure. Diamano Lenore tripped over himself, like backing up and over his own freaking shoelace the one time, and PJ Walker hit Amari Cooper on a big long pass, but his slow self got caught, thankfully. But they still ended up getting points off that drive. But Diamano Lenore made up for it, got an interception later in the game, and gave us a chance to go put points on the board. And I can appreciate him overcoming that. But Kyle still took him out of the game, really did. Javarius Ward dropped a couple interceptions today, actually. So you look on the stats and you see what happened, and it doesn't really tell the story of the game. Field position, we lost that battle, and it was a bad battle that we lost with that, which is why our offensive stats were so skewed, even more so with CMC and Debo out in a hobble Trent. Like, you have to have good field position in order to win a game, and if you don't, then you're backed up all the time and you're in a hostile environment. Like, you're not going to win that game, and that's what happened. And that's literally what happened. But back to what I said with momentum, like the way that the refs did not control this game, no team had a grasp on momentum. Even though in a hostile environment like this, because I'll say it's hostile because it's an incredible environment. The Cleveland fans bring it. They're drunk and they're loud and they're angry and they're sad and they're happy all in one moment. And after they won, everybody's like, we're going to the Super Bowl. Yeah. It's almost as if they won the Super Bowl. Like, they were playing We Are the Champions. I'm like, did they just win the championship and I was not informed of this? Like, I was so confused. But I'm like, have your day, Cleveland. Have your day. They were crying, screaming, hugging like they had just won a championship, and they were literally playing We Are the Champions by Queen in the stadium. I have never been a part of something like that for a regular season game. What is this, week 6? Win your Super Bowl, Cleveland, I guess. I'm happy for you. But when you go into an environment like that, you can't be a close game, or you're going to lose. You can't be a close game like that, or you're going to lose. Even though we had the chance to win it, and Jake Moody missed his second field goal of the day wide right. That's super annoying to me. We're 5-1 now. The world's not over. We didn't lose the Super Bowl. I didn't think we're going to go undefeated this year. I told you last week that this game worries me. It's a trap game. There's a good chance we might take this L. I marked this game as an L before the season even started on my season prediction, and it actually came true, and I'm sad about that. This is a very winnable, close football game. It just, nothing was going right in our favor. Not a daggone thing, and you'll have that. I think that's all I want to really say about this week. The Browns Stadium was loud. I sat in a dog pound. It was a good time. The food is average. I got a souvenir cup. It actually has Nick Chubb, my guy. I know Nick. This is cool. So I got Nick on a cup. But beyond that, we took the L. Browns got some momentum. If they get Deshaun Watson back and he can be accurate, then they'll be just fine. You know who's also going to be just fine? Us, Niner Nation. We really will. We will rebound from this, and everything's going to be okay. It's just a rough day at the office. It finally gives us something to look at and be like, wow, we have to get better here. We have to get better there. So I guess we're human. I guess we're not going undefeated. Dang it. Hope y'all have an amazing day. Talk to me down in the comments, and I'll talk to you later. Peace.